Hello everybody, this is Diwas Adhikari, and today we'll be conducting financial analysis of 5 different companies each from 2 different industries. The first industries to be analyzed is food product wholesalers industries, which includes companies such as Cisco Corporation, Calavo Growers Inc., Colabor Group Inc., Coremark Holding Co. Inc., United Natural Foods Inc. And the second industries to be analyzed is integrated utilities, which includes Pinnacle West Capital Corp., Great Plains Energy Inc., Western Energy Inc., Portland General Electric Co., and El Paso Electric Co. We'll be analyzing these companies based on some of the important financial performance measures such as ROE, ROA, equity multiplier, profit margin, total asset turnover, as well as debt affordability and economic value added. Since return on equity is one of the important financial performance measures, we'll be looking at the financial performance that drives the return on equity. And as you can see, the return on equity can be divided into return on assets and financial leverage, and the return on assets can further be branched into profit margin and total asset turnover, which can, and the profit margin can further be divided into tax burden, interest burden, and operating margin. And we'll be analyzing the companies mainly based on these financial measures. And based on these financial measures, the best investment choice among the given companies in food product wholesalers is going to be Calavo Growers Inc., and I'll be describing you all why I chose this company. So first of all, let's look at the return on equity. If we look on the return on equity of the Calavo Growers Inc., which is our favorite company, it started out with the return on equity of about 22%. It struggled a little bit in subsequent years, but it again regained its return on equity back in 2014. Cisco started out with very good return on equity, but it has been declining ever since. The rest of the other industries have return on equity of about 10 or below 10%, and some of them have even been declining. But we cannot make our decision based solely on the return on equity. So we have to look at the factors that is driving the return on equity, and those 2 factors are return on assets and equity multiplier. So if we look at the Calavo Growers Inc., we can see that it started out with the return on assets of about 13%, decreased a little bit in subsequent years, but again regained its return on assets in 2014, which is the highest among the given companies. The Cisco's return on assets has been declining since 2010, and all companies have the return on assets of about 7% or below 7%. And if we look at the Calavo Growers Inc., we can see that the high return on equity of the Calavo Growers Inc. is driven more by the return on assets rather than the equity multiplier, because we can see that leverage ratio of Calavo Growers Inc. is one of the lowest in the given lowest in the industry, and it has the lowest equity multiplier in 2014. Likewise, if we look at the profit margin is one of the financial measure which is important in driving the return on assets, and which the return on assets is important in driving the return on equity. So it is one of the important financial performance measure. And if we look at the profit margin of Calavo Growers Inc., it started out with the profit margin of about 5%, and then has been struggled a little bit in the subsequent years, but then again improved significantly in 2014. Whereas Cisco's profit margin has always been declining since 2010, and the rest of the industries have very low profit margin. Likewise, total asset turnover is also one of the important measure that drives the return on assets. As we can see, the Coremark's total asset turnover is exceptionally high as compared to the other companies, but because of its low profit margin, its return on equity has not been that good. The Calabar Growers Inc. total asset turnover is compared is within the range of the other companies in the industry, and because of its high profit margin, it has given the high return on assets and eventually high return on equity. Likewise, if we look at the economic value added, we cannot tell much from this graph because of the very big size of the Cisco Corporation, and the other graphs seem insignificant. But if we wipe the Cisco Corporation and look at the graph, we can see clearly that the Calabar Growers Inc. has highest economic value added in 2014 and has been improving and has also been improving in the previous years. So from these all financial measures such as return on assets, total asset turnover, profit margin, and economic value added, the good industry or the best company to make an investment is going to be Calabar Growers Inc. Now moving on to the second industry, which is the integrated utilities industry, I have chosen 5 companies, which are Pinnacle West Capital Corp, Great Plains Energy Inc., Western Energy Inc., Portland General Electric Co., and El Paso Electric Co. And among them, my best investment choice is going to be the Pinnacle West Capital, and I'm going to explain to you all why I chose this industry. If we look at the return on equity, we can see that Pinnacle West started out with return on equity of about 10%. It decreased a little bit in subsequent years and ended up in 9.5. Whereas Western Energy Inc. started out with return on equity of about 7% and has been making progress ever since and has ended up in return on equity of about 9.75%. El Paso started out with the very high return on equity of about 13%, but has been declining ever since. The other industries, the Portland General also started out with return on equity of about 8%, and then ended up in the return on equity of about 9.75%. So, if we look at the return on equity, most of the companies have comparable return on equity, and especially the Pinnacle West and Western Energy seem to be very competitive on the return on equity. But if we look at the driving numbers that are driving the return on equity, we can see that Pinnacle West has return on assets of about 3% in 2014, whereas Westar had a little bit higher return on assets than that of the Pinnacle West. But if we look at the equity multiplier, the Western Energy Inc. has higher equity multiplier than that of the Pinnacle West. So we can Pinnacle West. So we can say that the good return on equity of the Western Energy is driven more by the leverage than that of the return on assets. So it makes it more risky company than the Pinnacle West. Likewise, if we look at the profit margin, Pinnacle West started out with profit margin of about 11% and has been making progress ever since, and it is the highest among all the companies in 2014. The Western Energy also started out with the profit margin of about 10%, but it's a little bit less than that of the Pinnacle West. The Great Plains Energy and Portland Energy Inc. also have good profit margin, though they are a little bit less than the other two companies. And moving on, if we look at the total asset turnover, El Paso Electric has the highest total asset turnover in all the given years, and followed by Portland General. The Pinnacle West and Western Energy Inc. have the total asset turnover of in the range of like 0.25%. So they do not have very high asset turnover. But though the El Paso and the Portland have high asset turnover, because of their low profit margin, they are not able to give good return on equity. If we look at the economic value added, we can see that Pinnacle West has the highest economic value added in 2014 and in subsequent and in following previous 2 years. The Western Energy Inc. also has economic value added which is comparable to Pinnacle West, but it is lower than that of the Pinnacle West. Other companies do not have much economic value added. So from these financial measures, because of the good ROE, ROA, profit margin and economic value added, the Pinnacle West has done very good in all those financial performance measures. So I have chosen Pinnacle West among all the companies in integrated utilities sector. Now, if we compare the best industry in the food product wholesalers and the best industry in the integrated utilities, we can see that the caliber growers from the food product wholesalers industry have very high ROE as compared to that of the Pinnacle West. Likewise, if we see the numbers that is driving the ROE, we can see that the high ROE of the Caliber Growers Inc. is driven by high ROA and low leverage ratio. So we can say that Caliber Growers Inc. Is less risky and more profitable. Likewise, looking at the profit margin, we can see Pinnacle West has higher profit margin than that of the Caliber Growers Inc. So in this sector, Pinnacle West has beaten the Caliber Growers. But if we look at the total asset turnover, the total asset turnover of Pinnacle West is very low as compared to that of the Caliber Growers Inc. So even though Pinnacle West had very high profit margin, because of the low asset turnover, its return on asset has been significantly lower than that of the Caliber Growers Inc. Likewise, if we look at the economic value added, if we look at this graph does not tell much about the economic value added because of the difference in the size of this industry, where the Pinnacle West is about 25 times bigger than that of the Caliber Growers Inc. So if we adjust the size, then we can see this is the size adjusted economic value added, and we can see they have, like, Caliber Growers Inc. even beats the Pinnacle West in economic value added in 2014. So because of all these good ROE, ROA, profit margin, as well as economic value added, the Caliber Growers Inc. has outperformed the Pinnacle West on those financial measures. So the winner of this project, or the good company to invest in, is Caliber Growers Inc. Thank you.